If you don't need this card, please give it to someone who does. You are important and you are loved. And everyone in this room agrees, correct?
Do you carry that with you? Oh, man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then when you feel like, you know, that maybe you don't need it anymore or whatever, then pass it on to the person that does, which I just thought was just such a beautiful thing to do. And has inspired kindness. Wow, I am suddenly super loud. What is happening? But yeah, it just continues to spread, and it just makes me so happy to see that people are continuing to lead with kindness. It's amazing. It is the new movement that I think will take over the world. Fingers crossed.
I'm a pretty curious person. I ask a lot of questions of everybody. But the one thing, I asked a question once, and the one thing that has always stuck with me is a Cary Grant quote. Someone asked Cary Grant what the definition of a gentleman was. And he said, a gentleman is someone who tries to make everyone around him feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's just something that I don't know, it's stuck in my head and I try to aspire to it.
It's a good life philosophy, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi. So this is the discussion from breakfast this morning. At the end of season 3, we see that Waverly and Doc are in the garden, and Wynonna comes back and the whole town is missing. And then Nedley shows up and they decide they're the last two, or they're the only two. What if it's Wynonna and Nedley that have gone into an AU, and the rest of the town is still there? And what do you think about that? Wynonna and Nedley have gone somewhere else.
Twilight Zone.
I thought about that as well, Jackie. Yeah, when I first saw it, like, maybe the flip reverse of what we think. How do you feel about that, Greg?
Well, are you saying that heaven or the Garden of Eden is a bar? Because
Some of us might think so.
Well, Waverly didn't look too comfortable when she was, you know, taken there, so I'm not guessing it would have been a fun bar.
oh my God, I'm just giving myself a headache trying to think. No, I mean seriously. We haven't started shooting it yet. You gotta wait. But but we're all making up our own. Oh, I give myself a headache. I think that's an awesome idea.
How'd you feel being stuck with Wynonna, the only two people in the universe?
Well, I made a martini. So everything's great.
It would not be boring.
No, I think he was really relieved to see Wynonna, because as far as Nedley knew, he was the only one. When he was making his drink in the bar, he couldn't find anybody. So as far as he knew, and then when she walks in, he goes, oh, thank God. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. I just wish I could shoot that fuck yeah thing again.
Hey. Hi.
Based on this show, this might be wishful thinking, but if your characters had like a peaceful day off from the craziness and the near-death experiences, what would their ideal day off be like?
Day of relaxation in purgatory.
We be together.
I think so, yeah.
Just checking. Start off with a nice, start the day with a good book, you know, in bed, reading with a nice cup of tea. Maybe that's me, not really. Maybe not the tea part. Breakfast in bed, who would cook?
Me.
Oh,
Yeah.
This answer is going really good. What would you cook?
Pancakes with homemade strawberry compote.
Oh, very nice.
And orange juice. Freshly squeezed. And then maybe, but what else? Do you think Waverly would go for like a fake bacon, like a vegan? Do you think it would be like a treat, or do you think she'd be against? Do you think she would enjoy things like that?
If you made me fake bacon, darling, I would definitely.
You would eat it? Okay.
And then I think we'd go on we'd definitely take a little excursion.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
Maybe
say.
a hike? Or maybe take your
Sure.
Jeep and go up.
Yeah, go for a hike. Yeah,
Yeah.
to the mountains.
Just don't go in the woods.
Stay away from the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to go on a hike, we'll go on a hike.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go on a hike.
You made me breakfast in bed. I mean, I got it.
And then after that, what would you like to do?
Maybe come back and play a board game.
That would be nice. Maybe
Glass
have
of
some
wine,
people
bottle of wine.
over.
Oh,
Have like
yeah.
a big potluck or
Jeremy
something, and everyone can come with a dish.
Lush, yeah.
That'd be nice.
Hopefully no strippers will turn up. Or
No, non-strippers. This is just.
If you were playing a board game, who would be the most competitive to win?
Nicole.
So?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I think Waverly would be up there as well.
I think we're really good.
Maybe we shouldn't play a board game.
Yeah.
Get dangerous.
Or like charades, or maybe Bop It, or something. Would you come over for potluck? What would you bring? What would Nedley bring to the family potluck?
No, I would be fishing with a beer.
You could bring the fish later to the potluck.
Oh, he'd definitely bring chili. Be the only thing he knows how to cook.
Well, there you have it. There's their ideal day off. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was, mine's not gonna be as good as that one. If Dom or Kat or Greg, if you guys could write and or direct a Win Hot episode, what would that look like in your eyes? I feel like Dom would have as Waverly would have a lot of fun with that, but what would that look like for you
Oh, I
guys?
don't know. I've never thought about this. You must have thought about this a lot of times. You can take the questions to start with.
The thing I love about Wynonna and Nicole together is Nicole's like the straight man, and she's the. You're frozen.
Yeah, I took it off and then I was like, that was bad. Cool. What is with like the amount of aircon in these places? Carry on, do.
No, I just love the dynamic between them is so effervescent. Like it's so rich because they're the perfect buddy cop pairing. Nicole's the straight man and Wynonna's the which is funny. And Wynonna is like the crazy, like just crazy. What's the word I'm looking for? She's clown, kind of like, she's all over the place. I think like they could literally go and do anything, the most mundane task, and go pick up equipment, and it would just turn into some sort of disaster. But I would love to stick them into. Love to see those two characters stuck into a room that they can't escape for a long time. Like an escape room or something where they have to work together to get out, but I mean, we kind of did that with the handcuffs, but I think anything that sort of forces them to be together and not be able to get apart from each other is really funny. I loved the scene we did with you, where we were going through the storage closet. That was fun. Nedley, are you looking at my ass? Which is, of course, an MS original. Melanie Scribner original. Yeah.
Ad-libs. Can we talk about those for a minute?
Yeah.
Ad-libs. I try not to because I was doing a movie and I was playing a bad guy, and they said, "Well, say something while you're raping this person." And I went, "Okay." I know. And so ad-libs are not always funny. Like sometimes they ask you to say stuff when it's a gruesome, serious scene. And so I ad-libbed and everything, and then I felt so ashamed because the mean things coming out of my mouth were coming out of, I realized were coming out of my head. I had thought of them. Nobody wrote those for me. That was Greg. And I had to deal with that, because when you're hit with that realization that that stuff is inside you, those thoughts are inside you, and you bring them out, it's traumatic. And I remember going to the wrap party feeling ashamed of myself. This is 2 days later after we shot it. And there was a group of girls that were all on the crew standing there staring at me. And then they finally came up, and I went, oh God, here it comes. And they said, we just wanted to let you know that you were our favorite rapist. Because they knew the business, and they sensed how it had affected me. And that was a moment of kindness. Because sometimes in this business, you have to portray characters that are not, you know. But to do it well is the fun part. But you know, when you're asked to make up your own stuff, it can be traumatic. But then you just got to forgive yourself and go, dude, that's not you. That's you as a character.
I quite selfishly would like to see Wynonna and Nicole work together to get Waverly back. I think that could be, yeah, really interesting to see the dynamics between, like, when it's something that really, really does matter. See how they work together, and so that there would be sort of, the stakes would be higher, and see what came out there if they teamed together.
Thank you.
Hello, happy
Hi.
last day of con.
Happy last day of Con.
My question is, can you describe a memory that instantly makes you smile, like super joyous? Can you share that one with us, Earp related or not?
Memories are such a weird thing. I've been thinking about memories a lot recently. You know, how blurry they can get, and yet, like, we're all a compilation of memories, and yet they don't exist. They're all up in your mind, and yet, and like how, it's just an interesting thing, isn't it, memory?
It's sad when they slip away, it gets scary.
Yeah, I have a lot of trouble with memories. Like, I don't really have that many clear memories. And I often wonder, like, when I've spoken to people as an adult about that, like, I feel like I'm quite unusual in the fact that if it didn't happen within the past, like, year, they start getting a bit sort of non-existent, which is sort of a blessing and a curse, because I've realized as an adult that, like, that means that really all I have is now. Like, all I really have is now. So just to make sure that I'm as present as possible and enjoying the moment as much as possible, because I don't know how, if I'm going to be able to remember it in the future, which is sort of a weird, yeah, it's quite scary, but one that, okay, things that make me smile when I think about it. How about you? Do you guys have anything that's coming to mind?
Well, yeah, Christmas. Well, I remember being a little boy, and my dad was always good about putting the Christmas lights on the outside of the house every year, without fail. And I remember lying in bed, and all the lights would be out because I'm trying to sleep, but the Christmas lights would be on the outside of the house. And the light would come through my window, and I could see the Christmas lights. And in the middle of the window was a flashing red light. And that was a radio tower for a radio station that was in the other field. And I'll never forget that radio tower, and it's still there. I just visited my old house that I grew up in, and that radio tower is still there, and that red light is still blinking. And I remember seeing it every Christmas, 55 years ago, and that's sort of a comforting thing, That's like one of those things where you're in another part of the world, and you look up at the sky and you see a star, and you go, well, my mom in the other part of the world, if she looked up, she would see that same star. It's one of those things. It's always been an anchor for me. What excitement, Christmas. What promise that brought. And part of it was the toys, but I admit, you know, like as a little kid, you're looking through the catalog and you, oh, Santa, you know. But that changes, you know. Then it becomes about, you know, the food and the company, or the company and the food. But but it becomes about the event. And I remember basically I remember the red light on the radio tower blinking outside my bedroom window.
I have a memory that I really love. I was in my first year of college, and it had been, you know, it's a very overwhelming time. There's a lot of new stuff, and you can get really homesick and being away. And my parents came and picked me up, and we went up north for the weekend. We stayed at this place, and they had a balcony with a hammock, and it was a cool, crisp autumn day, and the leaves were fire. And I remember being in this hammock, and I was reading something that I had to read for school, and I think that started making me emotional. My mom came and like tucked me in, and I was like, I don't know, 18. I was totally an adult, but it was something like, I just remember the way the air felt, and it was crisp, and like the comfort of my mom tucking me into a hammock. I don't know, woo! Happy Monday. So I don't know, that's a memory that really like clearly elicits something very comforting for me, very special. Yeah.
Two things that have just come to my mind. The first one is my dad reading me Harry Potter in my bunk bed. Yeah, he used to do like voices for all of the characters, and yeah, I was actually just talking to my friend Andy, who's here, about this the other day, and it just like, the minute I started talking about it, I was just like, my whole face just erupted, because I think it's, in retrospect, looking back, it's like, I could tell how much my dad was enjoying the books as well, you know, because he would get so into it that naturally, like, and then Hermione Granger, she thinks like this, so she, you know, oh Harry, come on, stop being so stupid, and I would do like, because I'm pretty sure that in the books they said that her teeth were like quite big, and like she had a little bit of a lisp and everything, so I had like formed such an idea if it was because of my dad, and he clearly took so much care in portraying the characters and making sure that it would be a special experience for me, to the point where he definitely read them to me until I was way too old to be having Harry Potter read, but it wasn't the same when I read it myself, you know. So we carried on the tradition for quite a while. And then I don't need to bore you with the other one. That's an answer now.
Do it anyway.
Oh.
It's Monday morning.
The other thing that came to my mind was when I was in Brazil. I was in Capão, if I'm saying it right. In, did I say it wrong? Capão. Yeah, Capão. In Chapada Diamantina. Yeah, okay, just looking at Georgia for like, and I walked out, and it was literally like just the sort of epitome of like serenity and peace and tranquility. If you can imagine, like where you would imagine sort of like Adam and Eve to be bathing naked, like that's sort of like what it was like. And I walked out, and it was just the most magical place in the whole wide world that you could ever imagine. And I came out, and there was like this little family that were all bathing naked, and like laughing, smiling. Anyway, they left, and then I was sat on a rock, and this young girl and her mum and another girl came and started playing in the water. And I don't know why, but I just felt compelled to go and play with this little girl in the lake. And it was the weirdest, most trippy thing, but we didn't speak the same language at all, but it was literally like looking at myself as a young girl we understood each other on such a level. I felt like I got on with her like we were best friends. She was about sort of like 7 years old, and we were like laughing and like doing like flips in the pool, and she was giggling like it's just like from such an organic place, and I was laughing like a child. It was like a rebirth of like figuring out who I was when I was that age. And afterwards it was like everything completely dissolved, and then I looked around and her mum was there like, wow, my daughter's going to be so beautiful. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, because she could see like the connection between the two of us. Like it really felt like she was me when I was a child, had I been brought up in the most peaceful, most beautiful place. And I felt like, yeah, I had like this really big connection, and it was like this rush of like joy and happiness of being able to sort of connect with my younger self, it felt like. Anyway, that was
You know, I think if we really think about it, there are as many memories that we all have that comfort us